What's up guys, today we're going to make a heavy metal tone from scratch using the Axe FX3. Let's go. Alright, first things first, input 1 and output 1, let's do it. So input 1 here, right click, output 1 here, and connect the dots. And obviously from output 1 I have a XLR going into my audio interface here, into the computer. And then this will be able to let you hear your DI. Awesome. So I'm using an Ibanez S520 and I am tuned to drop B. First things first, I'm going to add a noise gate because as soon as I add a cab and an amp, I'm going to start getting feedback and I don't want that while I'm trying to talk. Alright, amp block, right click, cab block, cool. Now this is just going to pick random ones, however it did pick the FAS 6160, which is exactly what I was going to use for this tutorial, so that's awesome. So FAS 6160, and then we'll dial in all the knobs and stuff in a second. I want you to come up to the cab block, and on the legacy, I want you to type in 53 and do the 4x12 Citrus V30. Now these V30s, everyone who knows anything about metal, they're the speakers that are like the generic go-to because they sound awesome. And then 63 here. And if you don't know how to do this, you just click on this and you'll have factory settings 1, 2, and then legacy. So just click on legacy there. And then the German. So make sure this is 50% right and then 50% negative. I must have had it set there already because normally these will just come pan like that. So 50 and then negative 50. That's going to be left and one right. And cool. So just literally right off the bat, just from doing this, it should sound not too bad. Not amazing, but we're getting there, right? So now what I want to do here is I actually want to lower the gain, and I know you might be thinking why lower the gain if that what I just played wasn't a high gain tone. Just trust me because we're going to boost it after. So what I want to do is I want to go into the preamp and I'm going to boost the input boost, similar to like running through a drive pedal. You can add a drive pedal when we might later, but at this point I'm going to keep it on neutral. I'm going to boost this all the way to 24. This is like a lot of boost, but we really want to drive that dry sound, DI guitar into the amp block. Low cut frequency, I'm going to put this on 110. Actually, you know what? 125. Let's go 125. Because this, see this little line here? This is getting rid of a lot of that bass and sub running into the amp block from your DI guitar. You know, we don't want to be boosting a crap ton of sub into our amp, and because we're going to be doing a lot of distortion, you know, we don't need all that. So that's really good. So see that? Awesome. So lowered the gain, but increased the boost level of the DI into the amp, and then we get more gain out of it. But you don't want to just have this up here, otherwise it's going to be really overly compressed and just getting completely squashed. So that's already sounding heaps better, right? So what I've noticed with this master volume here is that sometimes it can sound better lower, and then sometimes other amps sound better higher, depends on what amp you're using. So I think with the FAS it sounds better at about 3, and to compensate for that volume you're going to lose, because you'll notice we've lost volume now, you just want to use the level knob here to compensate back to where you were. So already start sounding a lot tighter, and we haven't really done much yet. So pretty much if you boost this master too high and it's the wrong type of amp block that you're using for that, it's going to get really compressed and really squashed really easily because it would have already hit sort of its peak. So we want to find that sweet spot depending on the amp. Now for the presence, I like having the presence at about 4, and we'll put the depth up a bit, probably like 2. definitely want the presence at about 4 at least. Otherwise it sounds like it's being all muffled and stuff, and you want that high in there but not hissy. Lower the mids down to about 3. You know what? So after just playing with the mids there for a little bit, I actually think it sounds better with more mids. Cut the bass out a bit. Treble can come up a bit. Because I'm going to be getting rid of a lot of those mids later with post EQ. So I want to get the tone nice and full first. I don't want to scoop all the mids too early. And then I want to tame the mids and the low mids and all that muddiness later with a post EQ. So you get the best of both worlds. Alright, so we'll just put the input trim down a little bit as well. Starting to sound a bit tighter. Keep power amp modeling on. Sometimes I have this off, sometimes I have it on. Honestly, depends on the tone, hey. So, that's fine, that's fine. With the speaker, I really like the 4x12, where are we at? Recto large. And depending where you're coming out, you can go through a flat response speaker here, or if you're running it through, you know, a power amp and a cab, which I am running it through a matrix. Actually, no, for this tone, it'll be going to front of house, so we'll leave it on that. But you know, you could mess with this as well. So let's chuck this up. 110's all right. This makes it sound a lot more like a real cab it's coming out of when you mess with these settings a bit. Cool, that's fine. Resonance at 100, yeah, awesome. Input 125 as we did before. Awesome, so now what I would like to do is probably put a drive pedal on as well to really give it that high end. It's already on a TS808, but you would just go to TS8 or T808 overdrive. Drive all the way at 0. Tone can be at about 7, and the level all the way up. This is really going to drive the so it gives it that a little bit of high end crunch even. So low cut it probably have about 400. And then probably 10,000 hertz, because there's no point in... You can probably even put that down to like maybe even 4,000 actually. So you're just driving the crap out of the mids there and the bit of the treble as well. Awesome. I'm going to turn this off because I don't want to do any post EQ yet. Awesome, so what I want to do is I'm going to turn this to a classic gate, and then I'm going to have these all the way down as quick as they can go. They could probably come up to like maybe 5. And then I want the noise gate to be strong, so when I'm muting, it's cutting out those mutes for that good genty tone, as well as when you're playing like... Also when you're playing like... Yeah. However, you don't want it too strong, otherwise when you do an open power chord, if you want to ring out for a section of a song, the noise gate's going to be too strong and it's going to grab that signal really quick. Cool, so that's great. So that's strong enough to go, but also not so strong that it's completely grabbing the signal when I do a power chord. Great, so now let's do some output EQ. So around 250 and 500 I find can be quite muddy. Now, I've actually taken these down quite a lot in the tone, and then when I've grabbed an EQ in post, like through my digital audio workstation, you notice that there's still quite a lot of mids there and quite a lot of mud there still, even after like taking quite a lot out. So I wouldn't be too scared to scoop the mids too much in here. I know there's a lot of people out there now that are saying like don't scoop the mids, and I definitely agree. There's a lot of power and a lot of your range in the toners in the mids, but you can tame them a lot. So if I start boosting this a little bit, just a bit like, right, you know, definitely maybe -4, nothing crazy. And then this one 250 is pretty shit. So you could probably go maybe -6 or -2 depending on. Sweet. So that's already sounding quite good. It's quite opened up that tone a bit now. It's okay for it to sound a little bit thin too, because you know when a bass guitar is sitting underneath, you know it's gonna fill in a lot of that gap. So. I don't know, I'm fucking freestyling here. Cool. So already sounds very, very, very good. Let's just do a tiny little bit more, right? So we can come over to the preamp section here. I like to go a modern preamp, you know, high quality economy, depends. I might do economy if I'm running 2 guitars at the same time out of the Axe-Fx, otherwise the CPU can really jam up. So, but for the case of this, we can do, you know, high quality. So drive, I like to do it, use my ears for this. If I do an open chord and start messing around, as soon as it starts sounding too squashed and too compressed, then, you know, I'll tape it back. So. Sweet. So I can hear a couple whistles there that I'm going to get out with an EQ. I'm only wearing my gamer headset right now, so it's probably not the best thing. But, and last thing we can do here is, well, not the last thing, but one of the last things is put a low cut and a high cut on. So like I said before, pretty much anything under 90 hertz, you know, you can go up or down from that number, but let's just say 90 hertz and below, we pretty much don't want anything. That's where the bass and the kick drum are going to sit, right? And then from about 10,000 hertz and up, you know, that's where a lot of the vocals going to sit, the air, the cymbals, all of this stuff. You don't need fucking high-end treble in your tone, okay? So let's go 90. And with the slope, I want this to be really sharp, 24 dB. I want it to be like fucking straight down. Same thing, 10,000. Again, you can go 8,000. Some people go as low as 7,000 depending on the genre and how hissy the tone is. Every guitar's different, DI's different, pickups are different, you know, amps are different. Just take this with a grain of salt. So there you are. You could also mess with the tone out of the cab simulator. So yeah, when that's duplicated twice, hard left and hard right, with a bass mono down the middle, that's going to sound really good. Hall, I'll keep that in hall. Don't mess with much here. And then if you're blending different impulse responses, it's really good to come here and make sure that these are lined up. So I can see the blue could probably come up a tiny bit forward here. That's better. 1.8. All right, I'm OCD with this stuff. Okay, cool. Sweet as, ladies and gentlemen. Now, sometimes I mess with the low cut and high cuts here. If you were to really hone in on the sound, you could solo each impulse response and be like, okay, that's quite hissy, so that doesn't need much low end. And that's, you know, a little bit darker, so, you know, you could probably get rid of that and whatever, but that's when you're really honing in on your tone. Lastly, I'm going to do a compressor and a parametric EQ. And with the compressor, I'm going to turn auto makeup off. And I'm going to aim for about 3 to 4 dB of reduction. I don't want to compress too much here. So about 2 to 3 normally and 4 dB once you're palm muting, because when you palm mute, that signal's gonna be boosted. Awesome, and then I'm gonna check the output one, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm not peaking. And I wanna get as close to 0 as I can. Sweet, so probably like -3s like your safe spot. All right, so parametric EQ, the low end and the high end, again, as a complete fail-safe, so there is absolutely no sub frequencies and no stupidly high whistle treble in the tone. I'm going to go 90 hertz on a 36 decibel slope, and I'm going to do, you know, 10,000, I'll probably do 8,000 here. 8,000 hertz on a 36 decibel slope. Yay! Sounding good. Now I'm just going to boost the gain all the way up, put the Q as thin as possible, and I'm just going to find some whistles that are annoying as shit. Right. Cool, there's one. Alright, and then one more around the muddiness in the middle again that I want to tame. Which is usually around 200 to 300. Or can go lower depending if you're a lower tuning as well. I reckon around 190. Cool. And if you want more treble, you know, you come here, boost this. Anyway, I can do that all day. So here we are. Not peaking, you know, nice cool tone. That's all you really need. So I'm quite sure too that, you know, I may be using the AXFX3, but I'm pretty sure the FM3, AXFX3, AX8, they all have, you know, majority of what I'm using here. So you should be able to do recreate this tone for you guys selves. But there it is. So comment, subscribe, like, share it to your mates. And even if you don't use an XFX3, I'm sure there's amp sims and there's different Kempers and whatever else. Like, I'm sure there's things you could take away from this video that can apply to your tone as well. So anyway, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you later.